Joe Budden just flat out snubbed Imani by rolling out a commercial that doesn't even include him. That's right, y'all. Let that sink in for a second. Joe Budden made a huge move, and while I do think it's a major win for the Joe Budden podcast overall, he's officially ordered a TV commercial set to air nationwide.
Describe myself. I'm a lunatic, right?
He's been caught cheating before.
He wants a clean house. He wants his laundry.
We have a
wet.
housekeeper,
He wants
Julia.
Way too much touch.
I like that.
Did he show you the handshake yet? Stupid. Amateur hour over here. I don't want to look at him.
You wear shirts and hoodies in the pool. So? You don't talk to me again about bodies.
Wearing a hoodie in the pool. You say a lot of tricky words.
No, I don't. I say regular words that's tricky to you.
Now it's time for my...
That's right, y'all. Today, well, really a day or so ago if you're watching this now, Joe Budden and the Joe Budden Network, along with Ian, made a big move and ordered a TV commercial to promote the Joe Budden Network. Now hold up, because this part is very interesting since people actually caught it airing on ESPN's First Take. But what this really looks like is a large-scale, nationwide media buy that's going to run across multiple channels, and it signals a level of brand building in podcasting that we honestly haven't seen before. Yes, you heard that right. Spotify never ran a commercial for Rogan. iHeart doesn't have a TV commercial for Charlemagne. Yet there is one for the Joe Budden Network. Now listen, we still have to get to the messy part. This commercial clearly showed the infrastructure of the JBN. It laid out the hierarchy. It basically sealed the fate of a lot of people's perceived legacy when it comes to this show, and we have to talk about it. First things first, Imani was completely left out of this commercial, like entirely. He wasn't shown in a single frame, and I'm gonna be honest, that speaks volumes about where he currently stands on the Joe Budden podcast, because the snubs just keep piling up. Once again, this is just another example of Imani not being highlighted or centered on the show. First, there was the New York Times article that didn't even mention Imani. Then came the Rolling Stone article that didn't mention Imani either. Then you have the show's intro, which also leaves Imani out. And now we have a commercial with zero reference to Imani at all. And I can't lie, that feels a little unfair when there are other people on the show, like Ice, who don't even pod as strong as him, but are still being included. So now I have to ask, hold up, is this starting to feel personal? I've actually cooked up a theory here. And listen, people are gonna say I'm reaching, but hear me out. I genuinely think Imani did something that broke Joe Budden's trust. And now, Joe doesn't seem to care about putting Imani front and center on the network anymore. Now, what exactly Imani did, whether it's allegedly hooking up with Melissa Ford, supposedly throwing hands with Woody, or spilling some info to Joe to his ops, I have zero clue. But the fact that he's being ignored this much, whether intentional or subconscious, is a huge red flag. If I'm Imani, I still think he should stay on the show, keep getting his bag and grow his brand, which honestly he's doing. But girl, this is just bad optics. Everyone else on the show gets to celebrate their moments. Their parents, kids, families can see them shine. You get none of that. Everyone else can say, I was in the New York Times, I was in Rolling Stone, I was on TV. But Imani, nada. And let me know in the comments if you think that's straight up disrespectful. Now, looking at the rest of the commercial, you saw just how crucial Mark Lamont Hill is to the JBP Foundation. He was all over that 30-second spot, featured, referenced, highlighted, you name it. It was basically the Ian and Mark show, him arguing with Flip, just being fully present. Other members, not so much. Ice didn't get much screen time, which makes sense since he's more of a connecting B-side type. Even Ish got a little shine. But Flip, man, watching that, I thought, wow, what a fall from grace. This guy should have been all over this commercial. Perfect fit. But nope, didn't happen. And listen, maybe Flip didn't want that spotlight, but Improper Improv was supposed to be a feature in this commercial. If he'd continued with it, we would have seen him, but it wasn't there, and I don't think that's an accident. The podcast has essentially put Flip in a spot where if he's missing from content, no one bats an eye. It's like, it's cool, we'll survive. The show doesn't need him. That's exactly where he's at right now. Even though Flip appeared, His presence wasn't nearly as prominent as it should have been. This is the same guy who reportedly boosted views and Patreon subs, but the commercial didn't reflect that at all. And speaking of Patreon, the commercial makes sure people know to head over to JoeBuddenNetwork.com. Now, it links directly to Joe Budden's Patreon, so could Patreon have had some influence here? I don't know. I really don't think so. Once again, I believe this was an independent move, likely driven by Ian Schwartzman, with Joe Budden signing off because he saw it as a smart play. And we'll have to see how it all shakes out. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, this is a very, very, very big deal, and I already know a lot of people are gonna hate on it. And honestly, I could have joined in on the hate. You know what I mean? I'm not above hating on something, but I actually thought this was dope. I'm one of those people who still believes in the power of legacy media, even as it loses some of its shine, its viewers, and its listeners. I think TV still matters. I think radio still matters. I think newspapers still matter. It's only because new media exists that we've started undervaluing the old. But trust me, people are going to look at the Joe Budden podcast very differently now, simply because it's crossed into legacy media. You got to realize, Charlemagne doesn't have a commercial. Yes, Charlemagne had his own TV show, and that got commercials, but I don't see a Breakfast Club commercial airing on TV. I don't see Charlemagne promoting his most successful properties like that. It's usually the stuff that ends up getting canceled. Joe figured out how to game the system and spotlight what he does best. And the genius part? It's something that can't be canceled because he owns it. Now, as for the rest of this, oh boy, I know Imani is upset. I know he's hurt. I know he's emotional. That's almost poetic. You know how in books a character's name reflects who they really are? Isn't it wild that his name is Imani and it sounds so close to emotion? Because he's emotional. You couldn't script that better if you tried. I'm sorry, Shakespeare himself couldn't write it cleaner. But let me know what you think. I already know the comments are gonna be split. Some of y'all are gonna hate it. Some of y'all are gonna say this was brilliant and that it's gonna change podcasting forever. And some of y'all are gonna say this means absolutely nothing. And I'm curious because I want the conversation. I really think this is something a lot of people are gonna try to copy. Other people have the money to do this. They could have pulled this move, but they didn't. Joe did. And I have to give credit to the infrastructure of the Joe Budden Network for executing this so cleanly, because it's been all over my timeline, and Joe Budden himself has been posting it on Instagram. All right, y'all, that's my video for now.